he said, boys, he said, I got the money. 3 shillings. For 2 boatloads of potatoes. And then he put the hook to it, he said, you know what? He said, I don't know if you'll ever see it, but I'm sure you'll whistle for him and you see it. The hoe and the machete. And they didn't get a potato out. The whole business of those potatoes just stayed right there, just right there. The whole business, you might have said one jack was under cultivation with potatoes.
No, I got a question. I wasn't, this just come to me. What about treasure hunting? Or anybody finding treasure anywhere?
And I can tell you.
Or you don't want to talk about that?
I can tell you one little story about that.
Let me tell him first. I got a son, he got married in Orlando. So, and this tongue that could get you into a lot of trouble. Ain't I right? And so, my eldest son, he takes after my mother for talking. And he was talking to these people, and I didn't pay no attention to it. So when he came home, these two guys came over here for my boy Reggie to take him out to Rex. Well, Reggie is a carpenter. The only thing he goes there for, like a boat, if it's coffin. But anyhow, he took him out to some wrecks, what everybody knew well, which was nothing to him. So he came to me and asked, would I take him out? I said, well, what, you got hooked up with him, not me. I don't want to fool with him. But he said, I don't know like you. I said, well, that's the reason why I don't want to take him. So I carried him, and I carried him to quite a few wrecks. But what happened is that there wasn't galleon ships. They were just common boats. And so I was towing him. So when he stopped me, he said, Joe, it's one here. So this reef built up about this eye from the bottom or higher, and a big long white sandy place there. She got in a hurricane or something and came in on the broadside of that reef. And she beat herself until she sank, rolled inside there, and the cannons were still there. And the cannons was there, and they had flare cannons, and they said that that's what the treasure boats used to have, what they call flare cannons, and that's how they knew this was one of those boats. So they were wrecked people. So they went to Nassau, and they talked to the high officials in Nassau about this stuff and everything. And he went and told these people in Nassau that he was dealing with me. And he understand that I was a big drug dealer. So I didn't know nothing about it until a guy from Cooperstown, he called the house and asked me would I come to the airport. I said, yeah, I guess so. Then I said to myself, I don't have no money to give to you. I'll keep this for myself. And so he came up to the house from Cooperstown. And he said to me, he said, Joe, are you dealing with anybody? I knew him, and he knew me. He said, you dealing with anybody with Iraq? Well, I didn't want to come right out in a big bluff and tell him, yeah, we got a big everyone. So he said, well, the reason I've come to tell you, he said, high officials in Nassau called up officials in Cooperstown and told him about this guy, and he was dealing with you, and he believed that you was, funny you could understand, I was a big drug dealer. And look here, boy, almost, my wife's hushing out, almost hysterical. So he was dealing with some people up in Man of War about renting a big boat, about a 60-foot boat called, anyhow, it's just a good-sized boat. So I said, let me call this guy, just at the beginning of the night, to see if he could tell me anything about these people. So I called him, and I started. All right, he said, Joe, let me tell you. He said, if you fool him with that man, get rid of him as fast as you can. He said, that's a crazy man, he don't have good sense. He said, today, he came in today, and what happened, he told my brother, which he met in Marshawa, that I rented him this big boat. He said, I won't rent him a coffin to put him in. that's what I thought. Anyhow, I thanked him and I put down the phone. When I put down the phone rang. His name was Boyson. I said, Viola, that's my wife, which ain't the owner, but nevertheless.
Oh my God.
I told her, I said, Viola, I said, let me tell you, that's Mr. Boyson right now ringing. Sure enough, when I picked up the phone, it was him. I said, Mr. Boyson, that's not, I don't want any more audio. I said, let me tell you something. You've been to Nassau and told those people in Nassau that I was a big drug dealer. I said, you know what kind of big drug dealer I is? I said, you could pack up and get out of here. I think it's what you, and he's, all his diving equipment, he was done, he'd come into my shop free of duties and everything. I said, because what happened, you can't find that rack, and you could shorty your maker. I'll never care you do it. I said, good night and have a nice trip back. And that's still right there. And from what they said, that really was a galleon ship.
We, in the United States, we had a lot of German ships that actually shipwrecked on our shores. And I imagine you had shipwrecks up here too?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's what you're referring to.
Spanish galleon.
Spanish galleon.
He's talking about like a 1600
Oh, he's talking about right now.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Any more questions out there? Somebody want to ask a question?
Did people ever use poison for fishing, like poison wood, like they use in Long Island?
Yeah, fellas used to
They
do that.
broke the sack?
Used to use dogwood bark.
Yeah, and
And
school
they go in the
fishing.
anglers and go up on the shelf and do that, and the fish will come out floating.
What kind of fish? Snappers?
Snappers and drums, that sort of stuff. You ask Joe about that. Joe tried to blow up the fish and he blew up himself. Hey, Joe. We run up and down a empty rock. He went to get
Oh, I'll tell them about that.
You tell him how it goes, and you blow, that's why you shout now.
Quiet.
All
My
right,
eldest brother was close to one of the ministers of Parliament in Nassau. He used to fish him, and my brother wanted some bait, which we wanted some guglies. Now, all the natives know what guglies. They go in a tremendous big school. So it's a rock down there, sit all by himself.
Squirrel fish?
He said he's going down there with the net catch on. Would I go with him? I said, yeah, I'll go with you, I guess. So we went down. When we got down to the rock, there wasn't there. But good look, not a long ways, but a good little ways out past it. There's a shallow bar comes out of water, some of it with a low tide. He said, Joe, I know exactly where they is. They said they were out to that bar. Great place for them. He said, I'll tell you what, Joe, I got a stick of dynamite, I can rig this up. I'll firecrackers off, but no, a joke. I want to see them go off. So he said, what do you do? We can rig this up. And my youngest brother and eldest brother and myself. He said, and what happened, you fix up the battery, and I could have this, and when I be going up and drift down, and when you see him running, I'll throw it up, and then you shoot it off. I said, you got a day going? So anyhow, we ran out there. My brother, youngest brother, he was sitting on the bow with his feet hanging down. And the seat, the bow was like that. And my eldest brother, he was on the seat there, standing up like that, the boat like that, with a wire coiled up like that, and a stick of dynamite to throw it. And I'm right on the back of him with the battery in there like that, and all the battery was in the dam. And I'm looking at this dynamite, I want to see where this going. So all of a sudden, my youngest brother, he said, "Damn, Lloyd," he said, "look at him." And there I was, seeing looking like I was going right overboard, and the bottom was cold with him. My brother Lloyd, I don't see no one. What he said that for? My brother, he jumped up on the boat's bow. Well, you know your arms is a part of your balance. And when he jumped up like that, the boat went like that. But then I went like that. And when I went like that, that wire came like that. And when that wire came like that, my youngest brother, he went off like a torpedo. Dynamite, like that, down there, like that. And he's saying, here, you ain't about going shooting around corners? My youngest brother, he went off like that. My eldest brother, he went off in the air, about 6-8 feet away from the boat. Well, I fell down in the boat. In the meantime, I tried to get up, and I fell back down again. So I kind of got myself up in the seat. My eldest brother, his legs, you thought would have got cut off with the dynamite. Because that ran into a ball of fire that big. He went this way of me. Instead of going this way, he fell one day and didn't do nothing. He just took a ride, free ride. He came back to the boat, got to the boat, and he got to catch my brother because all his muscles were shattered. He couldn't do nothing. What he was doing, hollering. He got him and put him in the boat. And when he got him in the boat, he looked at me. He said, "Joe, you all right?" I said, "Yeah, I believe so." He said, "What all that blood doing on you?" I said, "Where?" When I took a peek down like that, that was different too. I felt this arm was dead. And from here down like that. And the cap, the dynamite cap, if you know what I'm talking about, a piece of brass about this big, that blowed out and went straight like that, right into the bone. And we went straight to Tracy Key to the doctor. And he took one look at me, and good news for me was, he said, "Joe, you look like you the watchman. Let me take you in first." And then we got it in like that, and he x-rayed it and all. And then he took a pair of pliers, and it slipped off the pliers, I believe, twice before it broke loose one out of the bone. But I got the hole there, but I never had no pleasure. Now anything else?
What he meant is top hat.
One piece of luck we had in that. That when we got to Tracy Key, the doctor was putting the lock on the door for 5 o'clock. And he said, Joe, he said, I knew him, he said, "You look like you the boys, let me take a look at your face." Yeah.
Turned out you're
What
lucky.
about treasure from you? Anything? You got anything? Treasure
I like to
stories?
tell the oldest fishing guide. I'm the oldest fishing guide that is in the Everglades. About 65 years. I'm the first person, you might as well say, to take the tourists out. Now was the Shorty's shop, Shorty's cottage right there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The little cottage right there. That was the first cottage that's around there that rented.
What year were you born?
In my mother's house, I hope. Where I was born,
What year?
What year?
what year? 27.
Same age as you.
That's you too?
27.
There you go.
Well, it looks like I got way more years on me.
I figured you're about that age, because he's younger. He's a youngster.
Yeah, and all the way too.
You said Shorty's Cottage was the first place to rent. When were the first
I'll tell you.
foreigners coming in, the first
This
tourists?
Highland, I'm going again. Prosperity, I like to say, prosperity. I'll tell you, it's changed this little island to a paradise in no time. The minute the tourists started to come, everything started to bloom.
Did you ask you when the first people
Yeah.
started?
Right, yeah, and who were
They
they?
started coming here on a,
New Plymouth
on a,
Inn?
no, on a freight boat called the Content. You remember the tourists started coming in the Content, and the boys from here used to go board over there at night time, and she was they'd anchor and stay here 24 hours at that day.
That was in the
The boys
50s.
from here got with the banjo and the guitar and what have you, and you couldn't buy no liquor here. They used to have the Robin Hood and Green Seal and all that sort of stuff. Come and they used to go out to get that, you know, and they used to play out there and you get a couple of dollars anyway.
Bertrand, you played too? Didn't you play with that? Oh, you played later
I
on.
used to play the saw.
Saw, yes.
Yeah.
You play in Treasure Key and all
They
that?
used to.
Oh yeah, on my shopper and the club.
What year was that, Bert?
What?
What year when that boat came?
The 50s?
Oh, that was in the 40s.
In the 40s? Wow, 40s.
Yeah.
When did the plane come that Neville used to go?
Oh, yeah.
That was in the 50s.
That's in the 50s.
Yeah,
That Neville on the plane?
they used to have a Virgin, a Grumman Goose, and a Catalina used to come. When that Catalina could leak, she used to go down, land in the water, and used to be down by the old wooden dock down there. And she'd come up over and she'd watch you when you run over, the water running out of her. Of course, it's a seaplane, you know? Yeah.
The tourists first used to come from New York down to Palm Beach. We knew nothing about no aeroplanes. And they'd catch the lobster boats and they'd come over. And that cottage over there, that was about one of the first. You want to take a bath, we knew nothing about electricity. We want to take a bath, you took 2 10-quart buckets and you went out and you dipped down and you went into another little room with a tub. No, what you call it? I haven't taught me calling it, what you mean, yeah.
Bathtub.
Bathtub. No, not about the bathtub, we had a run around tub.
Washington.
You put the water in that, you take a bath like that.
Basin.
And then after quite a while, they put a plane on, a seaplane, right, by about 10 people. When you booked, you had to go. If you didn't go, you didn't get out anymore.
6-seater.
And anyhow, they started that. They landed in the water and you took a boat and you went out. Then they made a big concrete ramp that you land in the water and you
Drive
come
it
up.
up and,
So everything modernized and real fast. So the first airport they put was in Marsh Harbor. But the planes, when they left Nassau, when they took the wheels up, they didn't put the wheels down no more because you were landing in the water all the time. You follow me?
Yeah.
Or you don't?
yeah,
Anyhow, they put the
Airport in Marsh Harbor.
the ramp, the airport to Marsh Harbor first. But now, man, she had to put her wheels down because she landed on there, on the airport. But coming down there, she still had to have the wheels up so she can land in the water. So on a Sunday morning, right there in the morning when we looked, we heard her coming, the plane. And when we looked, the wheels was down. And they should have been up. And we hollered and waved all kind of old blankets and pieces of cloth, trying to get him to see his attention. Coming down, he went over that way and down, turned because the wind was to the south. And look here. When he put it down, like, if he would have knew, if he'd have knew he had to make emergency landing, he would have made it. Because when he hit the water, what had happened, she started to go back. But he speeded her up, he thought she was hitting bottom. And he went and speeded her up. And when he gave her the going like that, the tail went up in the air, and the propellers went down there. So I was supposed to get to it. When I got out there, the pilot was already dove out. And I say, pilot,